Hi, everyone. Yes, this is Heart and Soul Connected.
And Val's in charge.
Yes, Alice Martin Aley's channel. And here I am, Val Dragonfly Crystals, to ask the questions of Aley, who is going to go into the Akashic Records and answer the most magnificent mind-bending questions. Well, some of them are mind-bending, but it's really things, big box questions that we might not, we think about maybe at night at 3 a.m, and we wonder, oh, I wonder about this. So here, it's just the answers to things that even things you haven't thought about. So I want to say hi to Barbara Heart Love, who is here in the chat, and the notices are just going out. So
I also want to mention that if you come up with a universal question or a question that helps everybody, put it in the chat. Val will take a look at it.
Absolutely. That is an excellent thing to mention. And so I just want to say, Aley, if you have anything coming up, classes or, readings, anything that you do, you can go on Heart and Soul Connected online. And that is Aley's website. And you can sign up for classes. You can sign up for readings, all of those good things. And don't forget to like and subscribe today to Heart and Soul Connected.
Yeah. And I want to say that Val has the same thing with her. She's got you have some new stuff coming up there. And that you do Akashic readings. You do all kinds of readings at dragonflycrystals.store.
Yeah. And I'm developing a deeper dive into the Akashic Records class. So
we'll see part 2?
Part 2.
Oh, I love it. That's wonderful. I love that.
So I'm happy to say Diana is here, oil painter. Good to see you. And Donna healing readings by Donna Marie. Hello. So we're just, without further ado, we're just going to hit it because we have a lot of questions. And so everyone, here we go. We've already set the energy, gone into the records backstage. So we're ready to go, everyone. And so the first question for the Akashic Record Masters is, what is the most important truth about humanity's real history that we are ready to remember now in January 2026?
The esoteric truth is what they're wanting to talk about, and the truth that because we've all been given our sovereign selves. However, during that there has been some manipulation of the sovereign self, and that is by religious organizations, kings and queens and other royal figures, and political organizations, to the point that our sovereignty many times has been taken away from us, and sometimes without us even being aware in an entire lifetime. And so in 2026, we are being asked to move into the age of Aquarius and dip our toes into the idea that we are the creators of our own world. And we've been told that many times. However, we have not believed that. And believing it is needed in this time period more than ever before, because the manipulation is worldwide and it could be universe-wide. There are those who would not like us to achieve solitary unification. But the Akashic Records Masters say, all we need to do is remind ourselves in the words of, I am that I am. And while that is in a religious text, they are very powerful words, and anything that you put after it, you will become. So I am that I am enough, I am that I am.
Beautiful. Beautiful. That's powerful. What a powerful message. Thank you so much. I love that. And our next question comes from the chat. Healing Readings by Donna Marie has asked, may I ask the masters, the energy is really tense lately. Will this release? Has this happened before? And it does feel tense in the air. I have to say, for me.
It does. The Akashic Records saying they can feel the tension in any entity that they work with, even that. But they want us to know that we are currently in a timeline that will not exist as soon as the dominoes start to fall. There are many people who believe that the time period from 2020 to 2025/2026 has been a blip for many of us. And that when we stayed home, we weren't out doing the things that we normally did, and time collapsed itself upon itself. And that partial collapse has created a lot of anxiety in many people and the tensions of the world. This has been seen before in many historical times. It was seen in some of the ancient civilizations like Lemuria and Atlantis, right before the collapse of that particular civilization. The Akashic Records are saying, masters are saying, that doesn't mean that we will collapse as they did. Everything is different in this time period, but it could lead to dismantling more of the illusion on the earth, and people will be able to see more clearly and recognize they can step away from the tension if they focus their attention on other things. But right now, this is what's bringing us our awareness, and so it will remain until the dominoes begin to fall.
Wow, powerful, powerful. Wow, thank you. It makes sense too. So thank you for that, Akashic Record Masters. And I want to say hi to TW who came in, and Alice, hi, good to see you. Linda Bishop, Anna Wright, good to see you here. And let's see, we'll go to our next question here, which is, what aspects of humanity's origin have been intentionally misunderstood or simplified? And why is clarity returning at this time?
The light code downloads that have come in within the last few years have brought in more clarity and more of a deeper connection to the universal self. Can you bring in the first part of your question again?
What aspects of humanity's origin have been intentionally misunderstood or simplified?
There has been an intentionality and a simplification due to, in the past especially, due to the inability of many people to integrate and understand spiritual principles. But once we began moving into the 5D dimensional energies, there has been a shift in that regard, and more people are receiving light codes, having their third eye open, feeling in connection with angels, seeing maybe ghosts or other entities. And it's almost, the Akashic Records Masters is saying, it's appreciation for your penance of centuries and centuries worth of in the inability to connect. There have always been people with the ability to connect. A lot of them are mystics, Rumi, Hildegard of Bingen, and others. And we've always looked to them as being avatars or being very special beings allowed to see these things. What they're saying is we're all special beings. We are, every single one of us can have the same enlightenment that Yeshua had, that these mystic saints had. We just have to believe in that and know that God is within us, or that divine spark is within us, whatever it is you call the first cause.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for that. That's uplifting. So, Akashic Record Masters, how did early human civilizations originally live in harmony with Earth consciousness and the stars?
They're kind of chuckling and saying, what makes you think they did? I know there must have been times where people lived in harmony. Unfortunately, it seems that even in those times, and without the attachment to the definition or the knowledge of the definition, women's egos have stepped into the forefront, and there has always been a division. There are many who have said the earth belongs to no one, and yet it belongs to everyone. But when they started divvying up the earth into different parcels of land, and then the idea of paying for those parcels by whatever measure that happened, this brought the wars, the anger, the ego. And we can return to the barter system. We can return to living in harmony. But even in some of the communities, like the Oneida community, we know that while they lived in harmony for 10 years, if that, there's always something that came in, and it's usually the ego or someone wanting to be in charge.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that answer, Akashic Record Masters. It makes sense. And we have Diana, oil painter, who is asking, may we ask the masters, how do we maneuver through the plasma of the in-between as we stay steady to hold the space at the same time?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. They're showing me scuba goggles. Is it scuba diving that you do, that you're not diving all the way to the bottom? What is it? The
Snorkeling.
Snorkeling. They're showing me snorkeling. Oh my God. They're saying put on the mask of the snorkeling mask, basically, using it as a metaphor for getting through that plasma. But it is very dense. It is very dense. And there are people that are just really having a difficult time walking through it because it is coming from the sun. We're getting bombardment from the sun, and perhaps the great central sun even is involved in this situation. But treat yourself like a child, in that you may not know the way to go, but you may find the way to go by your inner child's wisdom. In other words, young children don't know, anything when they first come in, and but they can be the wisest individuals on the planet. So if you can sit in that discomfort also of not being able to move fast enough through, what you can do at the same time is know that each slog that you make through the plasma is bringing you one step closer to the other side, and that this too shall pass, and to remind yourself to surround yourself with whatever it is to protect yourself. And perhaps that's your mask and your goggles and your snorkeling gear. You can put your fins on too if you want. They may help you, because if you're walking or you're snorkeling, you're going to get there faster snorkeling. Interesting. They're so funny sometimes.
I love that. I love that. That's a beautiful, beautiful answer, Akashic Record Masters. Thank you. I really enjoyed that. And thanks, Diana, for that question. And so we're back to the questions that I had originally. What role did Lemuria and Atlantis play in shaping human consciousness? And what lessons from their rise and fall are critical for us right now?
The Akashic records say that those inhabitants of Lemuria and Atlantis were much more savvy than we currently are. In fact, they are probably 6th or 7th dimensional beings, and they still failed. They're saying that now we are witnessing in real time the quiet part out loud, whereas in the past there may have been some subterfuge behind the scenes, and it didn't help in elevating that civilization to do their primary job. And also they're saying there were some very important things that we may not know about the climate, the water rising, and some of the other things that existed on the earth or in the stars at that time, because it was so long ago. But they're saying we're being told the quiet part out loud by those who wish to take over and keep their power. And they're saying we didn't stand up for it, but we didn't know. We didn't learn. We trusted. And they're saying the only trust right now can be found is in yourself. Trust yourself.
Lovely. That is just beautiful. Thank you for that answer. I love that answer. Thank you, Akashic Record Masters. And when humanity's memory was veiled, what capacities or abilities were diminished? And how are those abilities reawakening today?
Anyone that wants to join the spiritual gauntlet, so to speak, is encouraged and allowed to do so. All they need to do is ask, and all will be revealed. Many that were in those past civilizations believed that they needed, some of them believed that they needed to listen to those in power and follow their instruction and not make conscious choices on their own to integrate this into their own knowledge, because they had someone to go to. And although there are many people here on the earth who believe they have someone to go to that can be a spiritual teacher, they're wanting us to rely more on our own discernment and our own personal journey than the journey of someone else. No one knows it all, and yet everything is within. And so again, they're mentioning the word trust. There was a trust that was betrayed during some of those times. And I'm not saying they were all bad. They weren't bad times. They had wonderful things happen. But we can't allow that trust to be diminished in this. They're just saying it's important to stand up and ask for what you need and work on what you want to be.
That makes sense. Wow. Thank you. That was really a deep dive. Thank you, Akashic Record Masters. That makes sense, and helps us a lot to stand in our own truth and be in our own power.
Our sovereignty is so important. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
The next question is, Akashic Record Masters, what truths about our spiritual sovereignty were lost through historical control structures, and how can we reclaim them now?
Mm. Um, there is a belief in contractual work or in review of one's lifetime that we may have forgotten, that we cannot reclaim things from other times and places or past lives, but that is simply not true. Every aspect of our DNA and our soul web, they're saying our soul web that remains around us, has all the knowledge that we need to know and reclaim. There was a lot that the church wanted us to follow the dictates so that control could be exercised upon the masses. Many times, it's interesting to note, people did not learn anything about anything, really. They had no school book knowledge. They had no real knowledge. And everything was answered by an authority. And to reclaim our own authority is to go in and take a look at where we let our authority go, or where we let our authority stall out in our own spiritual bodies. It's there. It may be you may have another layer on top of it, but you can chip away at it and know that underneath, which is revealing itself at this time through 5D, that you are making progress, and that there will be many aha moments that will come to you, and you will recognize your own sovereignty if you have not yet done so.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Akashic Record Masters, pointing us in the right direction. And our next question is, how does remembering our true history change the way we relate to fear, power, and separation in the present world?
Fear, power, and separation.
How does remembering our true history change the way we relate to it?
Once we remember that history, once those walls have come down, we will recognize that those three things have no control over us anymore. Yeah. The shedding of the ego self and the shedding of the belief in limitation or lack, or the need for power over others will be shed, and we will realize the only entity we have power over is ourselves, and that ego is pushing us along because we live so much in 3D, or have in the past. And it's almost like one day you'll wake up and you'll have a recognition of something new, and then you'll see others. And it's not like everybody's going to be wearing a halo, but there's going to be a glint in the eye, or a light on each other, and of soul recognition, saying, we know the truth now that we have stifled for so long, and we're not going back.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Akashic Record Masters. That's just beautiful. And the next question is, Akashic Record Masters, what karmic patterns from humanity's ancient past are completing or dissolving during this current cycle? karmic patterns of humanity's ancient past. Yeah, what are completing and dissolving.
They're showing me the Oracle at Delphi, which was an ancient place that people would go to ask questions of the Oracle, who was a high priest or priestess, mostly priestesses. And it's the place that you would go to get readings, basically, in the past. So the karmic imprint is there. And we still have been living in that karmic imprint, recognizing now that the Oracle is us, and the karmic imprint is being released, and people are asking the questions that they need answers for, which are fine, but then taking the information and moving it into awareness, rejecting or moving into a positive way of being, and then analyzing that in their own frame of mind, recognizing that it's okay to ask, but you must do the work. There's no one to do the work for you but yourself. And this karmic pattern has actually shifted. I would say it's shifted about 30 degrees in our current time frame. I believe that it will shift further, dependent upon those who seek their own counsel, recognizing that the answer resides in them more than any outside oracular deity.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Akashic Record Masters. And the next question is, how does understanding our cosmic and multidimensional history support humanity's transition beyond 3D consciousness?
The Akashic Records are saying that some of the universal astral plane entities, the cosmic astrology and so on, they've situated ourselves to a place where they have stepped back some. They were giving free and fair information and information for us to utilize in order to get us aligned with whatever it is that's coming for us. And some of them feel that is over with. They don't need to do that, because either some of them, it's not that they're discouraged, but they're saying that we have ramped it up, but we must allow you to do the work on your own planet and make the mistakes that you might make, or move into the energy that might bring peace and harmony in your world. But we can't live your life for you. And so some of the histories, some of those things, they have been here for a very, very long time. And we can see their influence for years and years. And they're saying the recognition must come from the collective, and that we need to be quiet. We need to be quiet and listen to our own inner knowledge.
Oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful. That's very powerful. Thank you so much for that, Akashic Record Masters. And the next question is, what message do the Akashic Records have for humanity as we step into this new year with greater awareness of who we truly are?
Bravo, my children. There are many of you who have accelerated your vibrations, and we won't say you worked hard, because working hard is a misnomer. It's those periods of flow that have brought you into the river of change. And you have stood up for your fellow man and woman who are not aware and allowed them the capacity to understand kindness and compassion. And there is more to come. But it is incumbent upon you to keep the energy vibration up around those in need. There will be new people. There are new people whose lifetimes on this planet are not necessarily aligned with the choices made in soul contracts by the people of higher vibration. But none of us, not one single member of your earthly planet, are better than the other. Everyone must remember that their lessons and their ability to open themselves to them is the key purpose of life.
Beautiful, beautiful. That made me cry a little bit. Thank you, Akashic Record Masters. And our next question is, what truths about humanity's ancient relationship with Earth have been forgotten, and how is Earth inviting us to remember now?
The Akashic Records Masters say that more people have opened their minds and hearts to understanding other planetary beings that have come to our planet and helped us in the past, helped us build pyramids, helped us find new ways of thinking, emerald tablets, lots and lots of other things. And they're saying that this was considered to be silliness and laughed at, and no one understood how this all could ever have occurred. However, when people have been opened up to this information, they are now integrating that information and becoming star beings in some way, because they have allowed themselves to escape from their physical bodies and move within the stars and recognize the others who have always been there and will always be there for them should they find the need.
That's lovely. Thank you so much, Akashic Record Masters. And Akashic Record Masters, our next question is, how did humanity's originally, how did humanity originally understand death, rebirth, and the continuity of consciousness before these teachings were distorted a little bit?
Yeah.
A lot.
A little bit.
No, they're just saying we're distorted. I'm just throwing that in.
That's okay. That's
Yeah.
all right. They say we love your humor, sister. The original man, Stone Age man, they didn't worry about such things. I think that once we had high functioning, high vibrational society, that the understanding became more, the cognition became more for people that were living in those days, that and there was no worry over death because there was no belief in death. Death did not exist. It was simply a different dimension. It's a dimensional shift. And then we went through, and there are still many on your planet who fear it more than, say, speaking to others in a large group. And they fear it because they don't understand it, and they don't realize that the soul continues. But much like one of your automobiles on your planet, the body becomes junk or pieces of junk. And it also ceases to function spiritually, because internally our brains or our cognition or our heart or whatever parcel we have inside of us says it's time for rest. It's time for that physical body rest, like a grave, not a grave, a graveyard, a junkyard, a graveyard, a place to leave old cars. It's you can take spare parts out if you want. Some people allow those spare parts to be taken out and reutilized if they are any good. And there is a possibility that these spare parts can also be regenerated in our future, but not until people realize that death has a purpose. And its purpose is to remind us we can't wait for tomorrow. We absolutely must do today what we put off. And the procrastination idea on your planet is very high. And they want us all to realize that there is only this moment, and there are choices that are made in the moment that can change the way things are for your entities there. But the fear put in with wars and so on has created more of the fear of death than anything else, and ravaging illness.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for that. That brings a lot of clarity, Akashic Record Masters. And the next question, it's kind of something addressing the past, but it's also humanity's connection to sound, frequency, and light. In the daily lives of early civilization and now, how much of a role is it going to play, and has it played in the past? Sound, frequency, and light.
How beautiful. I'm reminded of Beethoven, who sound frequency was not available to, and yet he made some of the most beautiful songs and music that has ever graced the beautiful Mother Earth. And I am also reminded of those in the spotlight creating beautiful artworks, beautiful plays for humanity. And how is it going to work in the future? Well, we have shifted that because we have come so far. It is all part of the creative process, both sound and light. And listening to the sound of earth, for instance, is something that is not done as it was in the past. Many people do not go outside to listen to birds chirping or to listen to the wind. There is a lot of loss in that regard. Or the light is not appreciated, and the way that the sun comes up in the morning or the sun sets, particularly across a beautiful water. And so it's a reminder that we can lose the most important things, but all we have to do is regain them in our own self. And once again, the paradigm shift will come if we focus on those things again and we bring them into harmony. Then that vibrational uplift can also be felt by others, but some of it has to be done by intention.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Akashic Record Masters. And Diana, oil painter, is just saying such strengthening words about this. And thank you, Masters, for this answer. And this is related to the last question, but it's really for everything. All of it is just such beautiful information, and we really appreciate you, Akashic Record Masters. And our next question is, how were humans once able to communicate beyond language, and how is that capacity reactivating today?
Claircognizance has become notably higher than it had been in the recent past. I am hearing from them that the natives used claircognizance, clairvoyance, clairaudience, all of the clairs, and we're able to also walk lightly in order to be able to do those things. I don't believe they carried a big bat. They just they carried themselves quietly, and so I believe that the clairs are making a very big entrance. Most of us, all of us, have the ability to fine tune our clairs. Some of us have clairs that are more heightened than others, but that doesn't mean we don't have all of them. And we need to pay attention to them, as well as the gut feeling that we should have listened to. Many of us will say, I should have known, I should have listened. And they're saying this is becoming a lot more appreciable on the earth, and people are working towards integration of these abilities.
Yay. Wonderful.
Yes.
Good to hear, Akasha Gregor Masters. Thank you so much for that. And our next question is, what aspects of humanity's past have been labeled myth or legend, but are in fact encoded in memories of real events, like Arthur and the Round Table, or whatever that might be? Those, the Merlin thing, or.
It's a beautiful question, and one that, unless you have probably read a lot of myths from around the world, realize that they're much like the religions, and the teachings of the good teachings of religions. The same thing goes for the myths. The myths have always been used to explain things that were inexplicable in the beginning. In the beginning, they would, the people would say something about, for instance, if you had a total eclipse of the sun, that would scare the crap out of some people, they're saying. But at the same time, they would they would reason it out why, and then they would recognize that it was just a temporary thing that would be coming. As far as the legends of Arthur and all the other mythologies that we have read about or embraced, all have aspects of truth. Absolutely. They are either combinations of people who lived during the times and their exploits, or their good energy, or they are archetypal. And many people don't realize that they are also universal, at least on this planet. And it would not surprise me if some were also from other planets' stories. So they're saying the Hindus and what they believe about the great war in the sky. So there's a lot that people need to open themselves up to, and understand that we're being shown. We're at one movie studio watching this movie, and others are at this movie studio watching this movie, and they're very diabolically different. Diabolical only because these people never watch these clips, and these people don't want to watch these.
Okay. Well, that's very interesting.
Yeah. Wow.
That's very interesting. Thank you. Thank you for that. And I like the movie screen idea, movie studio. You're at the different ones. Thank you for that. And how did the original feminine and masculine energies work together, say in ancient societies versus today? And how does their imbalance affect us now, if in fact there wasn't an imbalance?
They're showing me Adam and Eve, and they're saying, two parts of one whole. And the Adam and Eve story may not say that, but it is a good description of the way that man and male and female have come upon the planet. And there is a lot of distortion in the way that that has changed. In the beginning, there was, even though biblically we were taught that woman came out of Adam's rib or whatever it was, that actually there was women are the creators of children, and they've always been in the past civilizations respected for that. And there has been a denigration over the times, and unfortunately we have stepped back into a lot of that denigration in our current day and age. And it's also been made consciously, a choice consciously, that some have come here and they are so integrated, they believe that they are of the other sex. And this is where some of the transgendered folks come in, and there's nothing wrong with that. That is one soul, one heart, and one confused entity because they expected something to be different. The same can be said of those who are attracted to similar sex partners. Those people are so firmly integrated with both of those things that they don't see gender. They see love. They see acceptance. And so some of these things were brought forth and introduced, and there are many who don't like the introduction and are making things really hard, but it was done purposefully to show us that we are but one entity and to accept that. And unfortunately, there are many people who never will.
Yeah, thank you for that, Akashic Record Masters. Let's pray and hope that, in fact, let's just see our world as a world that is allowing everyone to express themselves freely in the way in which, as long as it doesn't hurt anyone else, right, you're all good to go. You can be who you are, who you came in to be, right, and whatever works for you. And
if the judgment would go away,
yes,
the judgment needs to go away.
The judgment. So thank you for that, Akashic Record Masters. And how does reclaiming our true history dissolve fear-based timelines if we really understood where we come from, who we are, the reason why we're here at all, and our relationship to extraterrestrials and the people that live here that were here before us, who live here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How does knowing that and realizing it's true dissolve fear-based timelines and support collective awakening? If we could just get that clarity.
We have to stop whispering in the ear like the telephone game, because if you whisper in the ear, it gets distorted by the time it gets to the last person. If you have played that game as a child, you know that. It's sometimes purposefully done, which is interesting, to make it funnier than it was. And if you take that and you move it into the idea that when will this all change? When will people accept all of these things? It's when we stop listening to the whispers of those who wish to change the story and stand up in our divine truth and speak our truth without fear.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you, Akashic Record Master. That makes sense. And what agreements did humanity make long ago that are now being negotiated or released?
There are some who would say that this planet is ruled by otherworldly beings who have taken this planet over. Some say reptilians, some say other other alien or ETs, and that we are but puppets on strings. And the truth is that this is a distorted myth. They have come to, most of them have come to help. There's always a bad seed, but the moment we start deflecting the bad seed, saying that we're not willing to work in that energy anymore, that we will be able to harmonize and work with other astral entities in order to bring this earth into further alliance and alignment.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that, Akashic Record Masters. I appreciate that answer. What are the aspects of humanity's original way of living created natural harmony? What aspects created natural harmony, longevity, and inner peace? And how can those ways be restored now, if in fact there were times of that?
Well, there have been times in community, in rural community, where the dependence on others in the community was vital to survive. Actually, it's still that way, but we don't see that because all of us have our ego more out there. But there, you had to plant these vegetables, and somebody else would have animals that would be sacrificed for food, and others would do the hunting, and the Native American community is still based in some of those, dependent upon where, some of those things. There's the Akashic Records Masters are saying there are communities in other countries that are so isolated that they will not allow others to come into their community, which is actually good because they would bring in disease and pestilence and so forth. But they function very highly as a community, working together in order for that to happen. And they're saying we can do the same thing. There's no reason we can't do the same thing. But it has to come to a tipping point where others who don't believe in that kind of thing can see the benefit of it. And if they have their blinders on and they're not interested in growing, they're going to be left behind. And then they'll have to create their own community of whatever that is.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, interesting. Thank you, Akashic Record Masters. And I'm going to jump to this one because this just popped into my mind to ask, and that is, it's CERN. And when it first started to now, there have been a lot of, they're testing and going into the atom and breaking it up. And they've gotten to the point where they have been able to create mini black holes, tiny little mini black holes. And some people have suggested in the scientific community that it shifted our timeline, that it broke time, a linear time. And so we shifted into another Earth, another timeline entirely. And that it's kind of broken that linear time up. What do you say about that, Akashic Record Masters, even if I'm not articulating it?
No, it's well understood. And yes, CERN had a very, very large shift in time. And we have seen smaller shifts as well. Time before the year 2000 was very, very different than after the year 2000, but it changed again in 2020. And the pestilence that was rained upon in that year was not on the radar, let's say. While there are always pestilences and diseases and so on and so forth, most of those things were eradicated by vaccinations and a lot of other very diligent work by scientists on the earth. But CERN did do something. And it's like the big whoops, And there are some of us who have recognized it immediately. And there are some of us who have lived differently, even in those 2000 to 2020 or 2020 beyond, including a shift right at 2024 election time. There was a shift at that time as well. And so messing with things that are unknown, even by scientists, have created different portals, some good, some not good. And that's the result of why we're seeing, it's almost as if they've shifted some of the time and turned it into itself and gone backwards. And those backwards actions can be seen in the way that a lot of people on the planet are utilizing their time.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you, Akashic Record Masters. And in taking that same question a little further, how much of that is affecting what we are experiencing now as these time warps or time morphs or, glitches in the matrix, as it were?
Some of it that we're seeing, for instance, your Atlas comet that disappearing, they came here through black holes, and they can handle great distances. They've always, some of the black holes have been there. I mean, we've seen them. They become more obvious to us now because of these visitors, so to speak, from space, whether they be entities or enjoined with extraterrestrials. And some of these things that we're dealing with absolutely changed because of these shifts. And they want to remind you how long it takes to get a message, or it used to take to get a message way, way, way out, beamed from here into interstellar space. And at one point, the scientists have told you that probably 20 years ago, they just received a radio transmission from the entity named Hitler, because that's how long it took. It took 60 or 70 years to get out there and be received. So it's interesting to note, because perhaps those entities listening to these things believe that that is what is occurring now and not then. Although what is it doing? It's occurring now in a lot of ways that are very uncomfortable for us all. So I have to wonder if there's like a beam being sent back, not in a malicious way, but in a kind of a spiral is what Akashic records say.
Interesting. Thank you, Akashic Record Masters. I appreciate that. And this is going to be our last question.
Okay.
And it is about the human heart. What role does it play as a portal of knowledge and intelligence in humanity?
They love the question. They love the question. What does the heart play? The heart is everything. The beat of the heart is important to the child within the mother. The ache of the heart is important for our grief to find its way through. The anatomical portions of the heart show us how fragile it can be, but also how strong. And living in a heart center, living and working and loving in a heart center is even more important, they say, than listening to your gut, which is still important. But they're saying the heart knows. The heart knows. Don't let your heart-centered messages go in and be filtered by your mind. Let them flow. Again, the idea of flow, of sovereignty, and of being aligned with your own intentional truth is vital in order for you to continue to vibrate at a higher level.
Beautiful. That's wonderful. Oh my gosh, I love that message. Thank you, Akashic Record Masters. And thank you, Aley, for this beautiful session with the Akashic Record Masters. I just want to say hi to Callie Healer, saying hi to us, Aley and Belle. And Annie's Gifts, thanks for being here. Victoria, thanks for being here. And anyone else that I missed, I'm just going through. Jill, good to see you. Resh, thanks for being here. Butterfly readings, that's Linda. Thanks for being here, Linda. And Amanda Carroll, good to see you. And I hope I didn't miss anyone. TW, sorry we didn't do your question because I'm not using my questions for future prediction, but
yeah,
I mean, you can do that, but not in this format.
Watch the pattern. Watch the patterns. Yeah. We've gone through these patterns before. They keep telling us. They kept telling me, you got to look for the patterns. You've got to make the meaning yourself. It's so important.
Yeah. And and Garnet, good to see you. So here we are. We've completed another Akashic Record.
Yeah, we'll be back in a couple of weeks on Val's channel, and I'll be asking her the questions. And Arlene, nice to see you. We have missed being here doing this, so thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you again soon.
Next time. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Love to you guys.